Long ago, in the quiet village of Ogwil, life was hard for many families. The land was fertile, but poverty still ruled the homes of the poor. Some people worked from morning till night and still had nothing to show for it. Hunger had become a familiar visitor in many houses. In that village lived a young man named Obesai Nwanko. Obesai was not lazy. He worked in other people's farms, carried heavy loads at the market, and tried small trading when he could. But nothing ever stayed in his hands. Every effort ended in disappointment. His mother, Mama Neka, was always sick. His younger sister, Amara, had stopped school because there was no money for fees. People in the village began to avoid Obesai. Not because he harmed anyone, but because suffering seemed to follow him everywhere. Anything connected to him always ended in loss. One evening, Obesai sat outside his leaking mud house. Inside, his mother coughed weakly, and Amara sat quietly in the corner, too tired even to cry. Obesai held his head in his hands. He had tried everything, nothing changed. That night, as the village grew silent, an old palm wine tapper passed by his house. He stopped for a moment and looked at Obesai with tired eyes. "If a man is ready to lose something he cannot see," the old man said quietly, "the forest behind Okorohill may answer him." Obesai lifted his head immediately. Everyone in Ogwil knew that forest. It was not a place people spoke about loudly. Hunters avoided it. Travelers refused to pass near it. Some said those who entered returned with madness. Others said they never returned at all. Obesai frowned. "I cannot go there," he said, but the old man had already started walking away. Only his words remained behind. That night, Obesai could not sleep. His mother coughed all night. His sister cried softly because there was no food again. By morning, something inside Obesai had changed. He stood up slowly. He looked at his mother. He looked at his sister. Then he whispered, "I will return." And before anyone could stop him, he left the house. The path to Okorohill was long and quiet. As Obesai walked, the village slowly disappeared behind him. The air became colder the closer he got to the forest. Even birds seemed to avoid the place. When he finally reached the edge of the forest, he stopped. The trees were tall and thick, blocking out most of the sunlight. The entrance looked like a dark mouth waiting to swallow anything that entered. For a moment, fear held him back. He thought of turning around, but then he remembered his mother's voice, his sister's tears, and the shame of returning empty-handed again. Obesai stepped forward. He entered the forest. Inside, everything changed. The silence was unnatural. Even his footsteps sounded strange, like the ground was swallowing them. As he walked deeper, the path behind him slowly disappeared. It was as if the forest did not want him to return the same way. A cold wind passed behind him. Obesai turned quickly. Nothing was there, but he felt it. Something was watching him. After a long walk, Obesai saw a faint light ahead. It was not like any normal fire. It was steady, pale, and strange. He followed it carefully until he reached a small open space deep inside the forest. There stood a hut, old, lonely, surrounded by bones, cowries, and dried herbs hanging from strings. A pot outside the hut boiled without fire beneath it. Obesai stopped. His heart began to race. Then a voice came from inside. "I know you are there." Obesai froze. The voice was old, calm, and heavy. "I have been waiting." Slowly, an old woman stepped out. Her skin was dry like bark. Her eyes were pale white, as though light no longer touched them. She studied Obesai for a long time. "You are far from home," she said. Obesai swallowed hard. "I need help." The old woman gave a small smile. "Everyone who comes here says the same thing." Obesai's voice shook. "My mother is sick. My sister has nothing. I have suffered for years." The woman nodded slowly. "And now you have come to the place where nothing is free." Obesai frowned. "I have no money." The old woman shook her head. "I do not want money." She turned slightly and pointed behind him. "Turn around." Obesai hesitated. Then slowly, he turned. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just trees and darkness, but then his body froze. His shadow was not normal. Even though he stood still, it moved slightly on its own, like it was alive. Obesai stepped back. what is this? He whispered. The old woman stepped closer. Every man has a shadow, she said. But not every man knows what it carries. Obesai's voice was shaking now. What do you want from me? The woman looked directly into his eyes. I want your shadow. Silence fell heavily. Obesai shook his head. My shadow. That is impossible. The old woman turned away. Then return to your suffering. Those words cut deep into him. He remembered his mother coughing, he remembered his sister crying, he remembered the hunger that never ended. His hands trembled. Wait, he said quickly. The old woman stopped but did not turn. Obesai lowered his voice. If I agree, what will happen to me? A long silence followed. Then she said, you will become rich beyond what you have ever imagined. But your shadow will no longer belong to you. Obesai frowned. What does that mean? The forest became still, even the wind stopped. The old woman turned slightly. You will understand. After the deal is made. Obesai stood there for a long time. His heart was heavy, everything in him said to leave, but everything in his life said to stay. His mother's illness, his sister's hunger, his endless suffering. Slowly, he closed his eyes. I agree, he said quietly. The moment the words left his mouth, the forest went completely silent. The old woman smiled. Come closer. Obesai stepped forward. She raised her hand and touched his forehead. Instantly, Obesai felt something pull from deep inside him, like something invisible was being dragged out of his body. His chest tightened, his breath weakened. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. Then, the lantern in his hand went out. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that darkness, Obesai heard his name whispered from behind him, slowly, close, but when he turned, there was nothing there, only the sound of something dragging itself away across the ground. Far away in Oguil village, a rooster crowed loudly in the middle of the night, and somewhere inside Obesai's hut, his mother suddenly stopped coughing for the first time in weeks. And that was the beginning of everything.